Safe and nutritious food is essential for good health, so special care must be taken to ensure proper food handling practices. There are several foodborne bacteria and viruses to protect against.
We go the extra mile in terms of trying to keep a balance within our meals. We'll have dinner for breakfast, but it still will have the main food groups.
Today was barbecue lamb chops with mashed potatoes, peas and onions, and brown gravy.
You could get a good breakfast. Lee is a great cook, and all the kitchen staff are really great. Everybody who works, or all the staff members, we're all great.
Well, I've kind of worked with the homeless for like probably about 3 or 4 years now. It's a nice job to have, knowing that you can help people out. Proper temperature is the main key to making sure people don't get sick.
The danger zone for bacteria growth is when food sits in temperatures between 40 and 140 degrees. Hot food must remain at or above 140 degrees, and cold food must remain at or below 40 degrees.
Here we have 2 cutting boards. The red one is for meat, poultry, fish, and the white cutting boards we use for our vegetables or cutting bread, and just to keep from cross-contaminating anything else when we're cutting. We run them through the dishwasher, and they also run through the 3-sink process.
Well, it's kind of like a car wash, you know, you've got the different stages.
For manual washing of dishes, the first step is to scrub dishes, utensils, pots, and pans with soap and hot water. Next, rinse with warm water. Then sanitize them in a rinse that is made of 1 tablespoon of bleach in 1 gallon of cool water. And finally, place them on racks to air dry. Sanitize eating surfaces before and after meals by wiping the tables with dish rags soaked and kept in a container of dilute bleach solution. Remember, the proper mix is 1 tablespoon of bleach in 1 gallon of cool water, made fresh every 4 hours.
Don't want to spread diseases, germs, especially to the people that we're serving and especially to the kitchen staff itself. We want to keep them sanitized.
Everyone in this kitchen, from the top to the bottom, has a food handling card. And the thing about the food handling cards, you have to go and take a test. And on this test, it teaches you several different facets of handling food. What's the cooking stage, the temp factor, when the food is done and when it's still raw. It also tells you about sanitation and foodborne illness. It's very important in how you handle food. This is a very serious thing, and I take it serious when you're dealing with people's lives and their stomachs. Cheese on top of it. Okay. Now, the first thing that our volunteers do is put on their hairnets, even before they wash their hands. We keep sanitizing, we wear gloves. You said half wheels are cut in half. We constantly sanitize the kitchen. At the end of the day, at 2 o'clock, the floors are steamed every day. One other thing that we do is when our volunteers or us go and use the restroom, we know we wash our hands in the restroom, but we also come back and wash our hands again before we start all over again.
We have an obligation to our clients to be serving food that is going to help them. It's not going to contribute to any illnesses that they may already have, so we're very conscious about our clients with diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and so we really put forth an effort every day to make sure that we're serving foods that are safe for them, make it a well-balanced meal, so there's a wide selection of items that they can choose from.
The rule of thumb that we use in feeding people, if we won't eat it, then we're not going to serve it to them.
When we are transporting our food, we have Cambros that will keep food at temperature for up to 4 hours. So it's really important that once we put that food in there, the doors stay closed and then temp it again once we get up there.
Today, we'll have it with a Cajun dish, with salad. The main ingredients or the main food thought that goes into preparing the food that we feed up on the bridge, your protein, your starch, and your vegetables. Now, we may have some added food items such as fruits and stuff like that, but the main ingredients, those main 3, is what we always want to have. To eat up on the bridge, the only criteria is that you be hungry and that you act in a mannerable fashion. No fighting and no drugs. To ensure that these things happen, we have security up there for all 3 meals.
Somebody could come through our line and be aggressive at the beginning because they may not have eaten for a couple days, but then after coming through our line for a day or 2, you can totally see their attitude change to being totally compliant they're nice to talk to. Proper nutrition on a daily basis is extremely important, especially for people that live in these conditions.
They seem to be pretty generous down here with good stuff to drink and eat. Something new like chicken or like chopped up fresh fruit.
You get fruit and vegetables, you know, along with your main course instead of
food groups.
You know, yeah, you get your major food groups, you know, and it's hot, you know, and it's good. It's like good food.
Well, I'm glad that they're serving it.
I've been coming down here the last couple of days, and sometimes I get pretty hungry with the baby and everything, so. But it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
We make sure on our food line that the clients aren't touching anything until the very end when they're handed their tray, so that that possibility of contamination is eliminated. Hand washing is also very important. We bring hot water up for every meal that's done up here. We have hand sanitizer and hand soap. I'd say out of 100 people, at least 90 of them are going to say thank you and that they appreciate it. So we do get a lot of good comments.
When people are making food for one another, it's really important that they have a higher standard of food handling. But if they're making their own food, they're sort of taking that risk on for themselves. And it's important, but it's not like they're feeding a crowd. So in kitchens that are shared, in shelters where people have an individual room and they share a kitchen facility, I think the main rule that should be universal is that when you enter the kitchen, you wash your hands before you begin to do anything else. And that way, when you're handling the refrigerator door, you're not putting more germs on it, and that you wash your hands periodically during the time that you're handling different foods.
When a woman comes in to the kitchen to prepare a meal, she's responsible for cleaning up after herself immediately after meals complete. So that means any pots and pans she uses, she hand washes. Any dishes she uses, a woman would clean her dishes and put them in this strainer here.
Even though the pots and pans are washed by others, I still wash my pots and pans before I start cooking. And I also wash my hands all during the cooking process.
Several residents, they may have a chore to wipe down the surfaces, so a couple of times during the day while the kitchen is open, somebody will come in and wipe and sanitize all the surfaces.
We all have chores, and one of the people has a chore where they check the dates on all the food.
These refrigerators are filled with things that have been donated to us. A lot of things come in with an expiration date that is either just expired or is about to expire, or maybe even the expiration date itself. And so we get an opportunity to talk to the women about dairy products and how long those will last past their expiration date. Lots of women want to throw a vegetable away as soon as it gets, you know, any brown on it. So we talk about, you know, how we can, you know, preserve vegetables and checking dates, and they just have an opportunity to learn those skills. When you've been living on the streets or in shelters for any length of time, you're not used to preparing meals for yourself.
Here are some tips for preventing foodborne illness. Exclude staff, volunteers, clients, and all others who are sick with vomiting or diarrhea from entering the kitchen area. Use proper dishwashing technique. Sanitize preparation surfaces frequently. Sanitize eating surfaces before and after meals. Avoid self-serve in food lines. Avoid the use of communal serving bowls. No bare hand contact with food. Use a barrier such as gloves, tongs, or other serving instruments. Establish a policy for food donations. Make sure all kitchen staff have a food handler permit. Staff can consider hepatitis A immunization. And seek consultation of health department if several people have vomiting or diarrhea. Here are some tips for client-accessible kitchens. No cloth dish towels. Use paper towels instead. No sponges for dishwashing or sanitizing surfaces. Use a dilute solution of bleach and dish rags described earlier.